This is BBC Scotland on 1. In a few minutes, we're reporting Scotland with Lindsay Marnock. But first, the early evening news from London with Moira Stewart.
Football and Kilmarnock have won the Scottish Cup final after beating Falkirk 1-0 at Ibrox. Paul Wright's goal after 21 minutes was all that separated the sides. It's the first time Kilmarnock have won the Cup since 1929.
Kilmarnock have won the Scottish Cup. They beat Falkirk 1-0 in this afternoon's final at Ibrox. Paul Wright scored the winning goal. Forbes McFall reports.
It was billed the friendly final, a family affair drawing fans from two clubs who last met in the Cup final 40 years ago. First Division underdogs Falkirk started well, with Andy Gray's long throw a threat. But Kilmarnock gradually took control of the game and dominated the play. It was no surprise when they scored in the 20th minute. Paul Wright from close range. The strike was to prove crucial, delighting manager Bobby Williamson, and Paul Wright's 18th goal of the season, sending the Killie support into raptures. But Falkirk rallied well before the interval. Hagan with the perfect cross, but headed wide by McGrillen. Falkirk manager Alec Totten urged his team for the second half equaliser, but Killie keeper Lekovic defied James. Then, with only minutes left, Neil Oliver thought he'd levelled the scores. But the assistant linesman ruled that Oliver was offside. It was Falkirk's last chance. A brave fight back, but to no avail. Kilmarnock emerged 1-0 victors. Bobby Williamson winning the cup in his first season as manager. Alec Totten, the man he replaced. For Killie captain Ray Montgomery lifting the trophy, the first time Kilmarnock have won it in 68 years. Their fans now looking forward to European football next season.
Killie were a better team in the first half. Definitely Falkirk in the second half, and felt sorry for them. But thoroughly enjoyed the day.
It was brilliant, great atmosphere, great day for the family and the fans.
Actually won something!
Tens of thousands of fans are expected in Kilmarnock tonight to welcome their victorious team, who've become folk heroes and earned their place in the history books. Forbes McFall, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Yesterday's famous Scottish Cup victory. Last night, tens of thousands of people partied well into the wee hours, and as Forbes McFall reports, today the smiles had not worn off.
When the Killie team and manager Bobby Williamson brought the cup back to Kilmarnock, 35,000 people packed the city's streets. This morning, local newsagents busier than usual after Kilmarnock's historic triumph. These sought-after mementos of the great occasion.
Anything with a photograph this morning is cool, is it? Yes.
Why have you bought so many papers this morning?
The biggest day ever in Kilmarnock's life, I think. Best team in Europe. We're off to San Siro. We'd quite fancy Nice as well. I believe that Nice won the French Cup, so we might well be going there.
And Kilmarnock's pubs today, recovering from last night's party. Have you any beer left?
Half a keg. That's it. Drunk with dry. So we're in now at the pub with no beer.
For Kilmarnock Club chairman Ronnie Hamilton and his wife Eleanor, a special celebration at church.
The minister had a lovely rosette under his cassock, which was sort of pulled back so that everybody sees. And then, during the uplifting of the offering, the organist played this lovely tune which was vaguely familiar, and it was Paper Roses, which had everybody smiling.
Now, Kilmarnock in Europe.
Well, it's a nice ring. It's maybe been a long time since the club has been in Europe, but with some wonderful games in the early 60s and late 60s, early 70s, and I would hope that this maybe is the start of another crusade into conquering the continent again.
Kilmarnock's cup success has touched a whole community, and who knows, perhaps a new generation of Killie fans is on the march. Forbes McFall, reporting Scotland, Kilmarnock.
News, and Rhona McLeod is at Rugby Park. Rhona. Thanks, Anne, and welcome to Rugby Park, where Scotland meet Wales in just over an hour. And there's an added incentive for Kilmarnock fans to come along tonight. They have the extra opportunity to see the Scottish Cup, which they won on Saturday. Back to tonight, though, and there are 4 new caps in the Scotland side. One of them is the Wimbledon goalkeeper, Neil Sullivan.
The Welsh game takes place tonight at Rugby Park, the new home for the Tennant Scottish Cup. Scotland hope to cash in on Killie mania at the gate. Bobby Williamson's side will parade the cup before kick-off. So if you want to join the party, tickets are on sale at the ground until kick-off at 8. So be quick. Well, Rangers have...
Kilmarnock proudly displayed the Scottish Cup at Rugby Park tonight, but the main business of the evening was the first international match between Scotland and Wales since 1985.
Lucky escaped this morning when they were trapped in the wreckage of a road accident which caused widespread disruption on the M8 in Glasgow. The horses had to be cut free from their trailer after it overturned, partially blocking the carriageway. As Colin McKinnon reports, one of the horses had led the Cup final victory parade in Kilmarnock on Sunday.
The accident happened after a police Range Rover towing a horse box went out of control and overturned. The police officers escaped with minor injuries, but the horses were trapped and had to be cut free from the wreckage by the fire brigade. No one could be sure what condition they would be in, but when they emerged they were relatively unscathed, although suffering from shock. Afterwards, the 2 greys were taken to stables for treatment by vets who'd been called to the scene of the accident.
When we saw the extent of the damage to the police's Land Rover and the trailer, we did worry that there might be severe injuries to the horses, but they were okay.
Just last Sunday, one of the horses involved in today's accident, called Lark Hall, had been leading the Cup final victory parade in Kilmarnock. Lark Hall's handler says such experience would have helped her cope with today's events.
Both of the horses have been through the mill, they've seen it and done it, to coin a phrase, and that will have stood them in good stead, I would think, today, and caused them maybe not to panic as much as maybe another horse would have done.
Nevertheless, did you fear the worst for them?
I did. When I first was told of the accident, I was told, that the horse box and the towing vehicle had overturned from the motorway. Obviously, at that time of the morning, it's very busy. My concern was for my officers and obviously the horses, and I did fear the worst.
The police are still investigating the cause of the accident, but they're happy that 2 of the force's finest will be back on duty after a short rest. Colin McKinnon reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Oh.